Let's talk about the Clemson Tigers for just a second. If you don't mind, I want to put the spotlight on Clemson, South Carolina. We've been doing this with a lot of teams. What are the biggest questions here? What's the best position group? Who's the breakout player? What do we think about the schedule? It's like our own little preview magazine, but we're not wasting paper around here. Because there's one thing I care about. It is conserving paper in this office. Question number one. It's like a rubber band. It's like a rubber, what would be, rubber band ball. Yeah, it's like a rubber band ball. So I'm going to throw it at you, and I'm just going to say offense. But there's a whole lot here. And one of the rubber bands is, hey, we got Garrett Riley there now. How's he going to pan out? And also another rubber band is close behind there. How is he going to utilize their receiver core? And then one of the other rubber bands is Cade Klubnik. Who will he be as the quarterback under Garrett Riley at Clemson? A lot of fascinating ideas to throw around. Dabo, as much as he's reluctant to go in the portal, boy, he hit a grand slam with that coordinator hire. And you remember this time last year when Mario went and got Josh Gaddis and everyone did cartwheels and it was a disaster because behind the scenes people didn't think Gaddis was nearly as good as the folks out in front thought he was? That's not the case here. You ask folks in the industry about Garrett Riley, they think he's the real deal. And they think Dabo hit a home run getting him. So that's the first question. The second question, is this Clemson defensive line going to be like the ones they've had, those vintage Clemson defensive lines? Can the defensive line play up to the standard when you lose a Miles Murphy, when you lose a Brian Brzee, when you lose KJ Henry? Is the depth and quality of production going to be there? Because the first word, just depth, they've recruited very well. And they've got some names in that room. But it takes a two deep to roll out there and play at a pretty high level, and like all of them need to pan out. The depth is there. I don't doubt the depth. I don't doubt a lot of names. The overall production level. In other words, the ability to take over a game. Remember when they played NC State last year and NC State could not move the ball because their offensive line kept getting wrecked? That kind of performance or something similar, that's the kind of thing that bails you out when your offense is not up to par. Now, maybe that's a moot point because maybe Clemson's offense is back this year. But that's question number two. Question number three, will we see portal regret? Because to this point, it's not even a term. So let me add a note to trademark that. Portal regret, trademark pending, is that thing where you could have gone in the portal and gotten some players and you didn't voluntarily. You said, nah, we're good. And then you may play a team like Florida State that's built off the portal, and they spank you and beat you 27-17 in your own building, and all of a sudden the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth questions in the postgame press conference are, Dabo, do you regret not going and getting more players out of the portal? Voila, portal regret, depending on whether he says yes or no. Do we have portal regret there? And that's going to be a story far beyond just this year with Dabo and Clemson. What is the best position group on this team, do you think? We think it's linebacker. We look at the names in that linebacker room. Jeremiah Trotter, Barrett Carter were third and fourth on the team in tackles last year. Trotter is second-team All-American last year. And, hey, Jesse, is the spelling on Woodaz, is it Woodaz? Yes. Okay, it's just a really, really unique last name, so I always have to check because the last thing you want is a mad parent in your DMs. Like when I mispronounced a Jai Hall that one year, oh my goodness. Never heard the end of it. So Wade Woodaz, he played in every game last year. He is really going to be a focal point of that Clemson linebacker core this year. Linebacker's a really good position for them right now. The breakout player on this team, though, I'm going to a position group we talk about way too much with Clemson, and it's been negative as of late, and that's been receiver. Receiver in the mid-20 teens was dynamite on this team. Lately, it's been anything but. And Bo Collins, that's the guy that I think could really shine this year. He's 6'3", 210. He's a rising junior. He started 10 games last year. 22 catches, 373 yards, 5 touchdowns. Those numbers do not stand out at all. I know that. But think about where we are in the here and now. Think about Garrett Riley coming in. Think about what he just did at TCU. Think about featuring a player like Quentin Johnson. And then ask who is the closest thing on this roster to Quentin Johnson. And I think it may very well be Bo Collins. So I don't know what my over-under on receiving yards for the year for him would be, but it'd be well north of 373. The schedule bears repeating here. We talked about this early in the show, but don't overlook Duke. I'm not going to tell you that anymore. I've said it far too often. But that Duke game, 12-point spread on it. It's not just an imminent blowout in week 1. Standalone game, Labor Day night. So that's how Clemson starts their season. But also, they got the Florida State game, one of the games of the year, probably the game of the year in the ACC. They go to Miami. There's a stretch after their bye week. They go to Miami and to NC State, back-to-back road games. Then Notre Dame at home. Then they get Tech in there, Georgia Tech. They got North Carolina at home and then at South Carolina to end the year. South Carolina beat them last year. So it's kind of a backloaded schedule for them. Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina is so funny because sometimes I'll write things in parentheses. Like, I just started to go down a road there where there were some things in parentheses, and I hope that my mind figures it out as I'm reading the thing off. And I got Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina with 3 numbers in parentheses next to their name. I have no earthly idea what I wrote it down for. I'm sure it was good, though. So thank you, Jesse. Really good work there. That's the Clemson Spotlight.